Malaysia has confirmed its first locally transmitted case of the novel coronavirus.
Dua kes baru 2019 novel coronavirus dilaporkan.
Peningkatan kes COVID-19 secara mendadak, individu yang dijangkiti banyak 553 orang.
That's affected all sectors and Malaysia is no economies across the globe.
The lockdown in April saw almost zero activities in manufacturing, construction and services sectors.
In this kind of uncertain situation,
the economy would also
and then suddenly it's like, oops, full stop, end of story.
What is the impact of this pandemic?
Industri pelancongan merupakan antara penyumbang penting kepada pertumbuhan ekonomi negara.
Terrible. This is terrible.
First thing is scared, and then
Today,
confused.
because of this pandemic, tourists cannot travel anywhere. The whole tourist industry will suffer.
Tourism, which is expected to be hit the hardest. The Visit Malaysia 2020 campaign that aimed to attract 30 million tourist arrivals has also been cancelled due to COVID-19 crisis.
Hotels will suffer, restaurants will suffer, suppliers.
About 3 million people work in the sector that's been hit hard by this coronavirus pandemic.
It is of concern as the tourism industry of Malaysia is a major source of foreign exchange in national economy. The tourism contributes to more than 50% of export trade in service. Approximately 27 million tourists visits Malaysia annually. The government estimated the VM 2020 campaign to attract 30 million tourists and revenues up to RM 100 billion. However, with COVID-19 crisis and 10.6% of the estimated target being visitors from China, it would seriously decrease the number of visitors and revenue. Considering the magnitude of current pandemic, the numbers are more detrimental towards the Malaysian economy in 2020.
Worst yet, the government needs to intervene fast. We can't wait for December.
Meanwhile, the government, she says, is doing its part.
The pandemic dealt a severe blow to the aviation industry, not only here in Malaysia but also globally, resulting in a battle for survival in a year dubbed the worst year in aviation history by the International Air Transport Association. Malaysia Airlines, which from the beginning of the MCO has scaled down its operation, introduced salary cuts, and offered unpaid leaves to over 13,000 of its employees, is now undergoing an urgent restructuring exercise to ensure its survival.
Steward with the local airline, Rusli had to stay home as flights were cancelled to contain the coronavirus pandemic.
AirAsia suffered a record-breaking net loss of RM 992.89 million in the second quarter that ended June 30th, as compared to the net profit of RM 17.34 million in the same quarter last year.
International borders still closed, and recovery will only take place in the second quarter of next year.
The airline industry will lose billions of dollars.
Meanwhile, its affiliate AirAsia X Berhad recently announced that it has run out of money and needs to raise up to RM 500 million to restart the airline. Both companies have also confirmed the retrenchment of 10% of their 24,000 employees. Airline stocks in particular, which are part of tourism sector, have been hit hard with AirAsia falling by around 63% and Malaysia Airline by around 39% as of March 27, 2020.
This as the government seeks to revive the tourism sector that's estimated to suffer over $10 billion in losses this year.
Next, we would like to focus on the changes in the business processes of the retail industry that were particularly affected by COVID-19. In retail businesses handling food and daily necessities, some examples of quick action taken include the application of floor stickers to indicate appropriate social distancing positions for customers waiting in the checkout lines. On the other hand, the entrepreneur also faced loss during the pandemic. They bear debts to suppliers due to destroy to their goods and their inability to conduct sales, and consequently, their business can operate due to lack of stocks.
Fear, concern about the businesses will be affect on the rental of this shop and the salary of our staff.
On average, traders also incur losses, some reaching tens of thousands ringgit when their businesses are closed during the period of the Movement Control Order, which is PKP. The most affected example of a business is the canopy rental business, as they had to cease operations since last May following the recent implementation of the PKP. In the early stages, many bookings were received, especially for weddings as well as programs across the country. However, since the implementation of the PKP, it can be said that all canopy rental bookings had to be cancelled, causing entrepreneurs to no longer be able to cover operating costs such as shop rental, lorries, and employee salaries. In addition, for other entrepreneurs, they must bear additional costs such as the purchase of disinfection equipment, thermometers, and so on, so that their business complies with the operating standards set by the government. Indirectly, the expenses of a business also increase.
The impact of COVID-19
unemployment has hit its highest levels in a decade.
Many people lose their existing jobs. People who wish to start working couldn't because not many companies.
It was really hard. Like I think there's anxieties. There's there's some points that you get depressed and go like you're mentally just stressed during the entire period.
This would explain Malaysia's monthly unemployment for April, which soared to 5%, exceeding the annual average in the last 30 years.
This will lower the gross domestic product (GDP) as fewer goods and services can be produced in the country. Additionally, the increase in unemployment due to retrenchment of employees by some companies will reduce the net income and thus GDP as well. However, Malaysia's GDP growth is still expected to sink by around 3.7% amid COVID-19 in 2020 as compared to the 4.3% growth rate in 2019.
Malaysia has suffered its worst economic contraction in over 2
the final
decades.
quarter of last year came in at 3.6%. Malaysia has reported its slowest economic growth since the
Economy
financial
contracted
crisis in 2009.
17.1% in the second quarter.
Employers still must lay off employees because the stimulus package provided by the government has certain limitations. For example, only 200 workers are eligible to apply for the wage subsidy. So those who belong to the group of 200 people will certainly survive being laid off, while the rest may have to be thrown out. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia on May 14, the unemployment rate in the country is expected to increase to 5.5% or more than 860,000 people by the end of this year. Malaysia has never seen an unemployment rate of 5% since 1990, and the average was 3.2% between 2010 and 2019. Layoffs are not an easy decision for employers to make.
If we want to successful and to break the chain of the COVID infection in this country, we have to come together as one. And if all of us put our effort, I'm sure we can. Malaysia boleh.